Hey guys!
Hi, I'm QRG.
And I'm RNA, and this is our Q&A podcast where we talk about crafting and we talk about yarns and talk about ourselves and answer any questions that are knitting and craft related, or also just random questions.
Yes, we need random questions. Send us some, please.
That's right. So to get us started, we're going to talk about some adventures and some sadness.
Oh, yes. Okay, adventures and sadness.
Yeah.
So this month I went to Nashville for the first time. I've never been to Tennessee before, and it was for my mom's birthday to celebrate. And it was interesting. I'm not really a country music person at all, but it was interesting. There were some really good performances, and it was fun. And I mean, I like Johnny Cash and Patsy Cline, so that's cool. And it's my first time in a really fancy ass hotel where they had like valets and all the restaurants were indoors.
And there's like a boat inside there too.
Yeah, there's like
right?
a boat and a river and stuff you would never think you would need inside your hotel. And then on the very last day that we were there, she lost her wallet. So that was an adventure. And we had to go all the way back through the Country Music Hall of Fame all over again, checking all the bathrooms. And she looked in all the trash cans looking for her wallet, and we never found it.
Poor Patty.
It was very sad. And let's see what else. Then we got home and it snowed, and then the sadness is that first my cat died. She was 16, so that was very sad. I've had her for a long time. Her name was Princess Furball. And then the morning after that, I got up and found out that a cousin of mine had died the same night. So that was a sad day.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know, I think that might be all my adventures. That's about it.
And I actually was trying to think of what adventures I have had over the last month, and I haven't really had very many. One thing that I was thinking of, though, is that I've been reading a book about, I don't know if you've ever heard of the term hygge. It's pronounced hygge, but it's spelled Hygge, and it is this Danish way of maintaining happiness in their lifetime, or their lives throughout the year, but specifically in the winter time. And I have an issue with SAD. It's called SAD, seasonal affective disorder, and I don't take anything for it, but I do try my best to do things that uplift my spirits in the winter time. And so this book that was given to me by my very good friend Mary, she gives me lots of great things. It talks about lighting and being with friends and doing all these things that, like getting under covers and having your house set up in a certain way and different things, like just things that would help you to be happier in your life. And so I've been trying to do those types of things to maintain my happiness and uplift my spirits through the winter time, and it's really working. You guys should check it out.
Happy's good.
Happy is good. And it's hygge, and I did not know that. But that is
all
what
right.
I have to share.
Learning stuff.
Learning stuff.
Okay, so finished objects next, crafting. Yeah.
Yep.
I have a couple. I finished my power-up shawl.
Pretty.
Got it all blocked out.
So pretty.
So that was exciting.
Yeah.
And I finished my socks for the Desert Vista Dye Works contest.
I love those too.
She's very pretty colors. And I made some fingerless mitts because I can't stop making fingerless mitts. But it works out because then I sell them in my shop. So if you ever don't want to make fingerless mitts, but you want to have some, I do that. So we have, let's see. Yes, I can get them both on there.
There you go.
And
I love those.
I know, I just love them. Okay.
Very nice. Finished objects. I have actually the hat I was talking about last podcast. I did bring with me, and it is this guy. Borrowed it from my youngest, and so it's got a little bit of love and fuzzies on it from his use, but I love the cables on it, and I love how big and stretchy and how fast it knit up. It's that thick yarn I was talking about last month, and love, love, love it. In fact, I steal it and I wear it sometimes and I like it on myself, and I keep thinking that I'm gonna knit myself one.
You might need to do that.
I'm thinking I might need to do that for sure. Definitely. I've got some works in progress though. Are we gonna be doing that? Yeah. Okay, so last time talked about the socks, which I haven't gotten too much further, but some. And actually, that's true, they're bigger. And I'm to the point where I'm gonna have to start the gusset, and that's the increases that get to the heel portion. So there it is, guys. Got some socks, two of them, because that's how I do it now, and hopefully we'll have some success. And the other thing that we talked about last month was my blanket, where I'm doing the mitered squares. And so you just add a square each time. So you pick up the stitches and then do this mitered square. So I'm like
the hue shift Afghan.
Yes, the hue shift Afghan. And so it's going to be solid colors throughout the center diagonally, and then kind of like tying in the two different colors of the solid ones with each of these other blocks. And I'm liking how it's turning out so far.
Looks nice.
Thanks.
I have, well, another pair of fingerless mitts, but they're nowhere yet. They're just barely started. And I've worked on my cowl. And actually someone else is going to make me a sample of the very basic cowl. So I'm making this with a chart.
I love that. You've got hats that you've made with that pattern.
Not a hat yet, but some mitts already. Yeah.
I thought you had a hat that was like pink. No?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
I haven't made a hat for a while, but I did just drop some stitches, so give me a sec.
I dropped some stitches on my socks earlier today too.
It's very sad.
It is sad,
Sad.
especially when you lose those stitches.
Sad
You
and
have to,
scary.
like, go back and pick them up.
Oh, I forgot to talk about in my adventures the stuff we got in Nashville.
Ah, yes.
Okay, so wait. So yeah, Nashville. So I had to get a Patsy Cline shirt because, well, she's one of the few country people I like. And then we went to House Yarns in Nashville, and I got some yarn from, they said, a local dyer. Let's see, Old Rusted Chair.
Those are so
Hand-dyed yarns.
pretty.
And yes, they're very pretty.
They're very pretty.
So let's
Teals
see.
and
This one is
oranges.
Tidal. And this one is Don't Be Coy.
I love it.
K-O-I, Koi, the fish.
Yes.
And then we were driving back through Kentucky. And in that, basically that entire half of Kentucky, there's only one yarn store. And it's a yarn
Sad.
and fabric and embroidery store. But it was nice, called the Wooden Needle, I think in Trenton, Kentucky. And they didn't have any local yarn. But I bought yarn there because I had to. So technically it is Kentucky yarn because it came from there, but it's Sweet Georgia. And she does gorgeous yarn. They do.
Yeah, they're very beautiful.
Let's see, this one is Windswept. And this one, Anthem. This is Anthem. And since my company, I use purple and teal for my logo, I had to buy them. So I think I'm going to make a down the road and back again. That's my plan. We'll see if that actually happens, though.
Very pretty.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So now we're going to do the actual Q&A. We got a couple questions,
Q&A time.
but not a ton. So first was not really a question, but Cecile in Indiana did want to see someone's first and early knitting projects to see, you know, how far we've come and stuff. So this is...
They're hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, they were hilarious for me to go back and look at these.
This is the first thing I ever knitted. I learned how to knit making this gigantic wool pink scarf, and I am not a pink person, so...
It's so big.
But I learned how to knit, and by the time I finished the scarf, I had the knit stitched down.
Yeah, you did.
So here you can tell I didn't know
imagine you did.
anything about changing skeins, so this is all normal, and then we get to where it totally pools differently because it's a completely different skein.
Yeah.
And then I started another skein, so you can see it looks again different on this end. And then I stopped because I don't like pink, and And then I immediately washed it and kind of like
And it
minimally felted it. So I have never worn this thing, but I still have it because you just have to keep that kind of stuff
table
around.
runner. Maybe we could make it a table runner.
A nice pink wool table runner. I think I'm good.
Runner.
I think I'm good on that. I think I'm good.
Yeah.
All right, now what do you got?
Oh, so I don't have my very first project, but I do have some of my early ones. So this is what I thought was going to be a shawl. The pattern.
It is nice.
I actually do really like it very much. I like the things that kind of look like. Oh, Mary's mom's calling.
That never happened.
So when it looks like kind of like leaves, I don't know why I have an affinity for those types of patterns, and I really thought that this was going to be like a big shawl, but it's really more of like a shawlette. And I don't know that I've ever worn it, but it really would be pretty warm, and it is a pretty pattern, so I think I need to break this out.
It's supposed to be really freaking cold next week,
going
so
to be
maybe you can wear
very
it.
cold next week, so I definitely will be doing that. And then the other thing that I think I made before that shawl was this hitchhiker. I don't know if you guys have
Martina Ben.
tried the hitchhiker pattern, but it just keeps going and going and going, and I got to the point where I don't know that I was making it right, and it like really got very skinny, and so I ended up like chopping it off and then deciding to sew the end of it with my sewing machine.
It should get bigger and bigger, not smaller and smaller.
So I don't think I did it right.
It's okay.
And
That's
I
what the
chopped
first
it off
project's for.
and I sewed it, and so that's what the end of it looks like, and I've literally never worn this thing. But again, like Mary did with her project, I learned how to knit with this. And like increasing, making stitches and all of that. So you learn as you go. And then the other thing that I did, which I think actually this was crocheted, guys. But I had never like tried to twist it and then attach it so that it would have a twist in it, and it was supposed to have like one twist in it. But then there's like, I don't know how many twists, multiple twists on this cowl. And I like the color of it, but it's too twisty, and it's almost like a yarn necklace, not a cowl, really. Like it doesn't
Decorative yarn.
Yeah, it doesn't really, make my neck warm or any of those kinds of things that it should do. So I also have never worn this, but it was fun making it, and I learned from
All right,
that one.
that's what's important.
That's right.
Okay, so our first question from Cecile in Indiana is, when did you start crafting and why?
Yeah, do you want to answer first?
I don't remember exactly when I started crafting. I wrote it on my Ravelry page somewhere. It's been I don't know, after I moved here, so maybe like 6 years or something. I don't remember. I started because I was working a temp job at night, and it was 4 to 5 hours of sitting at a desk answering phones and then bringing people inside. And it was at night, so we were basically closed. So very few people came through, only for groups and things. And I got tired of reading, which never happens to me. And I had met Elizabeth at a previous temp gig before that. This was right after I moved here. Oh, so I guess it's been like 7 or 8 years. And then she invited me to go to her knit night with her, just to hang out, even though I didn't know anything about yarn. And I saw people making things, and it looked way fun. So that's why I learned. And then I learned how to make toys first, because toys are fun.
Yeah.
Monster toys, important.
They're super adorable too. We have many of them at my house. Because I've got kids, and kids at heart at my house. So we've gotten some of those. They're very, very cute. So I actually started crafting from a very early age. I've always been a creator, a crafter, but I do all kinds of things. Like knitting is one of the most recent things that I've learned, and I just learned that through coming to the knitting group. I was a crocheter first, and I learned how to crochet when I was probably 6 or 7. My sister taught me how to like just finger crochet, and so I would like reach through and like just make long chains with my fingers, and so that's how I've taught my boys. And I think that that's something that kids can do pretty easily. And I didn't start actually crocheting until I was probably 10 or 11, and like actually creating things. And I've always been very right-brained, and so I just kind of go with the flow and I try to do it, and then, you know, things would turn out very wonky, and then I would learn from those as well. But as far as the knitting, I've only learned how to knit probably 6 or 7 years ago, so it's not been very long that I've been knitting. But I loved how the stitches looked, and I could not replicate those stitches and different, like the cables in particular is what I loved most about knitting, and I could not replicate that with my crocheting. So I had to bite the bullet and figure out how to do the needles and all of that, and it was very scary at first, but once you get it, then it does get easy. So I really love the versatility with knitting, but I also still crochet sometimes too. So but I'm just a creator of all kinds of things at heart.
All right, let's see. All right, how about Cecile again? We have two similar. What's your favorite thing to make and your favorite thing that you have made?
So my favorite thing to make, gosh, and it's actually not knitting that I like to do, because I like the instant gratification of sewing, and so I have a tendency to come up with an idea or a project or something like that, and end up sewing it. And so I personally like to have the instant gratification of sewing something, and so if I can come up with something quick and easy to do in that way, then that's what I'll do. Actually, just this last week, I made an apron for my middle son. He's a baker, and he asked me when I would be able to make him an apron, because I've made aprons I've made one for my youngest, and I've made one for myself, and I had never made him one. He hadn't really expressed interest in doing that, and so he asked me, and so I pulled out some fabrics and did that. And I do like the aspect of just coming up with something in my mind and then creating it, and then there it is almost instantly. So that's the thing that I like to make the most. And then the favorite thing that I have made, and I don't know that I have one favorite thing that I've made. I do enjoy making things just in general, whether that's baking, painting, crocheting, knitting, anything that I can create, I enjoy. And so I feel like those things do bring me joy in that moment. And so for that moment, they're my favorite thing. And so I don't know that I could pick a favorite thing that I have made. Although one item that I did make that kind of touches my heart the most is an ear warmer that has a little flower on it that I made for my grandmother who passed away last year. And she enjoyed it while she was alive, and then I guess my mom has it now, and so it's one of her very favorite things to wear. And so because of the sentimental value that is attached to that object, I think maybe that is my favorite thing that I've made. So.
That's good.
Yep.
I have a hard time with favorite things. My favorite thing to make right now is socks and fingerless mitts.
Yeah.
Because they're really easy to carry around wherever you go, and
yeah.
I have the patterns memorized, so it doesn't take a lot of thinking. I can knit them anywhere, anytime.
I think I could have guessed that.
I could just knock it out. And then the favorite thing I've made, I really cannot pick a favorite thing I've made. The favorite thing is always the last thing I just finished. The last thing I finished now was these fingerless mitts, and I might have to make myself a pair and put a pair in the shop.
They are very pretty.
But they're just the last thing I finished. It's not like, yeah. That's just how that works for me. My favorite thing is my last thing. I love them all.
Makes sense.
Okay, she's only got one more, which is what is your favorite food? So really quick. Do you have
gosh,
favorite
my
food?
favorite food. That's a hard one, and I feel like I can't pick one of those either, because it depends on the day and what mood I'm in.
I can pick one. I'm gonna say tacos.
Tacos, you can't go wrong with tacos.
Tacos, because you can make taco salad.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Yeah.
They're the best. And
Yep.
It's got like vegetables in it. You can pretend that's healthy. You
Yeah.
can pretend that tacos are good for you.
I really like Indian food.
Curry and stuff.
And Thai.
I like curry. All right.
I like ethnic foods.
We have some questions from Amina as well.
Yeah.
She wants to know, how do you choose your projects? I don't really go out looking for them.
Me either.
I'll start socks if I have sock yarn nearby. And like the Sweet Georgia yarn that I bought, I've just seen, and I've been watching the Stockinette Zombies, and I've been wanting to make her Down the Road and Back Again. And I have the pattern, and now I have 2 yarns.
So what, I haven't seen that
has
pattern.
to
So what
happen.
is it? Is it a shawl?
It's a shawl.
Okay.
It's a shawl.
Okay.
Yes. She has a lot of really cute patterns, and I
Yes.
love watching them. So
Yes.
so she's a good enabler. They are. But yeah, I can't plan ahead. Like everybody has those Plan 9 or Knit 9 or whatever, where they pick 9 projects and then they're like, I'm gonna make these 9 in the next year sometime. I can't do that
I've never heard of
because,
that.
yeah, I just can't do that because it's just constantly changing. I can plan to make something, and by the time I get to trying to make it, there's something else that looks pretty, and I need to make that instead.
Yeah. I do that as well, or if I'm gifted some yarn, then I might think of a project to make with that, or if there's a need. So like the hat that I made, there was a need. And so I have a tendency to focus more on, you know, if a child has to have a warm head and they have lost every other item of winter clothing, such as hats, mitts, you know, gloves, whatever, they lose them all the time. And so then I don't have to, but I choose to make another one. So a lot of times it's out of necessity for me. But like the blanket, sometimes I just choose to make things that I think are going to be pretty and make me happy. So
That's
it's
important.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that.
Okay. Mina also has asked, how does knitting connect with your day job, basically? And it really doesn't connect for either one of us. We talked about it.
Yeah. I like that though. I like that it doesn't have anything to do with what I do on a regular basis. I think that it's kind of my mental break time when I have to use my brain a lot for work. Sorry. I like to have, you know, time where I can just sit and hold something that's beautiful, or know that I'm making something that's beautiful, or you know, something like that. And so then it's just a mental break for me, and I love the fact that it has really no ties to my current day job.
I work at a trucking company during the day, so the closest my yarn comes to my job is if I'm wearing something knitted at work. Oh, but I do dye yarn. Technically, that's work because I sell the yarn, but really that's just fun for me. So that doesn't really count.
I think it does count though, and it ties directly to your day job.
I guess
if
it
you,
does,
if
but
you count that.
I just do it because it's fun. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not like paying my bills.
Right. Well, true.
Okay, and then Amina asked, "What do you like most about knitting retreats?" Yes,
what do we
I like
not
everything about them because we go to a knitting retreat once or twice a year with our local knitting group that we go to, and the knitting group that we met at.
That's right. That's how we met.
And everybody brings yarn and food to share and pajamas and movies, and we just yarn
really
and
the
movie
best.
all weekend. And every once in a while someone will bring like a loom, and they'll have a little, does anybody want to learn how to loom, or how to weave yarn, or one year we snow dyed yarn. But most of the time we just hang out and socialize and lounge and eat random foods we would never cook at home. So it's really good.
There's lots of food. Lots of food that happens, and it's great.
Yes. Okay, last one. Amina asked, what surprised me the most about entrepreneurship? I don't know. Nothing really surprised me. I'm always surprised when someone wants to buy my stuff or thinks it looks nice. That's always really exciting. Like, I think it looks nice, but I like it.
Yeah.
But then when other people like it, I don't know, that just makes me happy. So, okay, we're taking too long here, but we're almost done, I swear. We want to do a knit-along so we can give away some stuff, but we haven't decided what yet. So why don't we do it for 2 months then? That way next month we can show what the prize is in case anyone actually wants the prize. You cool with that?
Yeah.
Alright, so we're just going to join in on the Warmth for Warriors knit-along, which I'll link to the website in the description, the show notes area. There's a Ravelry group, and basically you're just making hats that will go either to servicemen overseas or to veterans around the United States. So you can knit or crochet a hat. And for our knit along, I mean, you don't have to send us anything or whatever. We'll start a thread in the Ravelry group, and you just post a picture of each hat that you make, and we'll give you one entry for each hat, and then at the end we're just gonna randomly draw a winner. So however many hats you make, that's how many entries you're gonna have in the drawing. And we'll come up with some kind of yarn prize, which we'll show next month. So in March we'll show you the yarn prize, and then in April we'll choose a winner and give that out. And I'll link and put some of the information in the show notes so that you know where to go. There's patterns to use, and they tell you all about what types of yarns to use and where to send them, and what information you need to send what the yarn's made of along with your yarn into them. So, okay, so we'll link all that. I think that's it. Except I'm going to show off my yarn, so if you don't want to look at my yarn, you can just move on now. So, this is the stuff that's going to come out February 1st.
Oh, so pretty. See, she was going to show me earlier, and I decided that I didn't want to see it because I wanted to be surprised on the
Nothing wrong with surprises.
Podcast, yeah.
Okay, so this one, 2 semi-solids first. This one's called Don't Call Me Nymphadora.
Pretty.
And this one is called Tonks.
Love it.
And let's see. Of course, those are both, you know, Nymphadora Tonks from Harry Potter. She's a Hufflepuff, so. Okay, these are almond branches, which I just really have always loved that painting. And I needed their colors in the world. More of that color in the world. Alright, these are Foxes Make the Best Robins from the Disney Robin Hood cartoon. It's just green and orange.
Very nice.
And Sauron is watching.
Always.
Uh-huh. And here's my rockin' one this month. This is Bad Reputation, because I love Joan Jett.
Now, on the camera, it looks a little pink, but in person, it
red.
looks more red. Yeah,
Red and black.
Yeah, so it's more red than like the hot pink that it looks like on screen probably for you guys.
All right, this is hot pink though. This one is one girl in each generation, because I can't have enough Buffy colorways. It's important. So this is my persistent pink mixed with black. That's it. That's all I got.
Very nice.
So we're done. We need you to send us more questions though, and
they can be random questions.
Yes.
They don't have to be about crafting or knitting. They can be random questions about anything really.
yes,
So
whatever you want to ask.
send us your questions.
The more random, the better. So,
and as always,
all right, happy
happy
crafting.
crafting.